Hey Virgo, this is your April 2024 soul story. If you've got a sun rising or your moon is in the sign, then you might find that these messages resonate for you. It's Romy. Thank you so much for joining me on the channel. We're opening up with the energy of the Two of Staffs for you. And you are seeking plans and trying to figure out a direction and a way forward that will give you better terms. There is this opportunity to reevaluate in April, and at the same time, you know, there is so much shifting and changing with the astrological climate taking place that, you know, you are on this course of learning, of improving, trying to repeat in order to evolve and allow yourself the gift of saying, like, I need to move on and forge ahead. But there are those moments where you feel like you're being pulled back into old experiences. So I suppose it's like almost one step forward, you know, one step back. But ultimately, when we get to the end of the month, things will have shifted so spectacularly for you that there is this kind of very phoenix rising moment that I see kind of taking place. Now, your ruling planet Mercury is stationing retrograde in Aries on the 1st, and you know that makes for a very mutable experience. What it is directing you towards is that the plans that you're looking at or things that are a priority for you in April, there is some sort of connection to the past that needs to be looked at again or considered, if you like, in order to be able to move forward. It also means that some of the conversations that play out through the course of this month, or the ability to express yourself in an articulate way, can be somewhat challenged. Now, we have an overall energy of sort of rising temperature and frustration that comes in naturally in Aries season, but, you know, exacerbated because of Mercury, because of the eclipse, because of some of the intensity of what's playing out in the skies. And so, you know, you're knowing what you need to do, but you might be feeling a different way. And, you know, that resistance can take many forms. What we can say for you very clearly, though, is that the right way forward, the plan that feels most in alignment for you, the one that represents the possibility and the opportunity that you seek and that you desire, is going to come together. And by the time you get to the end of the month, the clarity for that will be there. It's a time of accelerated change, and that can be very exhilarating and motivating, but it can also create high frustration as you consider the gap or the distance from where you are, where you want to be. And, you know, the question I think that you ought to be asking yourself kind of early on in the month is, you know, if you could be all that you have the potential to be, what would that look like? What would it feel like? Because there's something about how you're shifting and changing. And because I see this very regenerative experience, you know, coming through, especially with 8th house, you know, and it's an intense one, right? Like, we know we want to make a change, but sometimes it feels very uncomfortable to do so. But, you know, when you're feeling into the sort of the potential and the richness of everything that is being revealed to you, then we have an onus on us, and we have a kind of a container, if you like, in April to make the moves and to do the hard things in order to give ourselves not only permission, but also to give ourselves the position that we need, or the space that we need, in order for that to be a reality. We've got the Page of Swords coming through here. Very important conversations taking place. You know, despite the fact that Mercury can cause some of this natural lost in translation feeling, it also helps us to return to things that were important and perhaps got sidelined, or perhaps, you know, needed more depth or more understanding. And so the kind of opportunity to come back to the table, and this coupled, by the way, with the fact that the asteroid goddess Juno is also stationing direct in your sign, and we talked a lot about that. You know, it went retrograde back in January, and Juno's been in your sign since October last year. So there's been this huge kind of pouring over the details of commitments, whether they be financial commitments, legal agreements, contracts, relationships. You know, Juno is the ruler of the 7th house. And so, you know, all of the things that were not ideal for you, that you were aggrieved by, that, were no longer serving you, came to light in a way that could have felt quite challenging and quite difficult. And with Juno stationing direct this month and Mercury retrograde, we have an opportunity to kind of come back to the negotiating table and to continue to kind of hash out, or to create, or to renew something in a way that's going to be far more agreeable to you moving forward. Now, it might not mean, through the month of April that everything is kind of signed, sealed, delivered, but it certainly feels really constructive. What I will say, though, is that there's a lot more that comes to light, in this month of April that can also be important in terms of any of the discussions or things that are going on. So wherever this is playing out, whatever you've got going on where you need to revisit something that is about an agreement, a commitment, a signing, anything on this level, be mindful of the fact that, you're going to be seeing things you haven't seen before. There's new things that are going to get you considering or looking at different possibilities and opportunities. So we've got Venus shifting into Aries from the 4th of the month, and, passion turned up, intensity coming through. And, I think this can also help you to address, if you like, where there may be areas where you felt a little bit lackluster, and you might not even have been super aware of it, but there's like a flame gets reignited in some form or another. And so again, you might go back to something or someone, that just fed you differently, nourished you differently, activated something differently within you. And the appreciation and the understanding that I actually need this. It's part of what helps me to thrive. It's part of what enables me to kind of hold this experience of allowing passion to kind of flow more easily into my life. And I think, this is going to make for, as you consider the plans and how you want to approach things, a really important reminder. And then, of course, we're going to come upon the solar eclipse in Aries landing on the 8th of the month. And, this eclipse coming in at 19 degrees, huge amount of kind of karmic clearance happening around this time. We've got the Knight of Wands. He's powering around this candle, almost like whipping up the energy so the flame gets brighter. That can also feel like situations getting stirred up, though. Perhaps you're the one that's stirring, or you might find someone else is stirring things up. Remember, eclipses are going to bring new things to light. And, you're also going to be made very aware of how you've been limiting or holding yourself back. And, there's this acceptance, I think, for you this month, Virgo, that often, you discover what you need on the way to your goals, not in the achievement of them. Whether that be meaning, the pride, the sense of devotion, the courage, the fortitude. So that eclipse is also gifting you something about what you need to see or understand or celebrate within yourself as you are on the way to something that represents or holds a bigger sense of kind of desire or accomplishment for you. Okay. It feels to me that we also have this running rings. So it's just like you might even be feeling, remember, there's a lot of frustration energy through the month of April. Someone running rings around you, or trying to kind of distract you, or just cause a little bit of like kind of mayhem. Because you're coming in with that Page of Swords and just being really kind of clear and focused, I don't necessarily feel it's anything that's kind of knocking you off track, but it could just be a source or an irritant. And you might be having to consistently kind of keep reasserting a boundary in order to maintain a degree of focus or a level of stability in kind of what's going on for you with your own priorities, The 8th house, of which we're working with through Aries season, rules debt. And so a lot of what might come to light, whether that be karmic debt, whether it be physical, financial debt, or feeling indebted to someone, or someone feeling indebted to you, a lot of that is kind of coming to light. And so there's an opportunity this month from a healing perspective around your prosperity consciousness and around the clearance of debt in some form or another. And it's also about your capacity to be able to receive that and to hear that. And not only that, to then put steps in place to act upon it. So even though retrograde is kind of slowing things down, we are still having this incredibly accelerated process through the month of April, where you're still going to be given the chance to be able to kind of move yourself out of situations, and for situations to completely turn and, you know, shift on their axis through the month. Okay, so keep that in mind. We have this kind of feeling of like paying it forward, I think, that's all around you as well in April, Virgo. So, you know, bearing witness to when things that you are connected to or you're getting involved with, or even how you're showing up in interactions and communications, knowing that, you know, as you leave that energy, the right energy, or you do things from a place of kindness, compassion, or from just good intention and integrity, you know, the legacy that you're leaving and how it ripples out is very, very powerful, and it sort of comes full circle. So you then seem to get a bigger boost at the end of the month because of that. So it just feels that early on in the month, if something arrives or arises where you could respond in one way, but you choose not to, you choose to take the higher path and do the right thing, it's definitely coming back in a super positive way for you. Eclipse energies often bring things about in threes. And so I also have this sense for you through the course of April that things are certain to arrive in that way. So whatever news you've got coming in, it may feel that there's kind of three parts to it. There's more to follow, or there's three things that particularly shape your experience through April and possibly into the early part of May. Now we've got the King of Wands coming through here, and his dynamism and his courage and bravery, I really love for you in this month, because as you look to negotiate, to discuss, to agree better terms with yourself and others, it feels like you have this willingness to kind of do the hard things, or to be in places that feel out of your comfort zone or incredibly intense, and lean into them and really see what you're going to learn and be able to kind of navigate in a way that you're going to look back with a huge amount of pride and a sense of accomplishment with yourself. Okay, the intentions you set around that total solar eclipse are going to be hugely shaped in terms of what comes to light. You may even have a feeling of like, okay, it's now or never, not necessarily right in the month of April, but at this moment in your life. Yeah, there's a sort of sense of just kind of feeling like a window is, you know, opening, a door is opening, and you're definitely meant to kind of take this and run with it. And even if you feel like I'm still moving in the unknown, 8th house, there's still an awful lot of what's hidden. Remember, we have this huge phoenix rising and all of this fire coming in to support your plans, your intentions, and how you go about achieving something. Really kind of has, not, I say success written all over it. What I mean by that is that, you know, you're also going to redefine what success looks like for you. Okay, now when we shift into Taurus energy, Sun comes into the sign on the 19th. What we're also going to be acutely aware of is on the 20th, Jupiter will conjunct with Uranus in the sign. Last time it happened was 1941. Incredibly surprising, unexpected shifts and changes. You know, things that can land that have such a degree of power and influence. 7 of Cups suggests there's a slight confusion around you, because perhaps what comes to light or the way in which you're being directed is so left field. In a heartbeat, it kind of feels a little bit like it blindsided you, but it also just opens your eyes up in such a way that you're like, wow, okay, now what? So there's that kind of phrase that I get with you around that time of the month where you're like, okay, now what? But this can also afford you almost like a fast track, or an opportunity, if you think about the kind of snakes and ladders idea, to get on the ladder and sort of jump or be elevated 2 or 3 levels. And you may feel incredibly ill-equipped or ill-prepared for something. Nonetheless, the fact that it's arrived, this window is opening, it's almost like just this seizing the moment, seizing the day, seizing it now. I think that you also have, in and around that time, because this is now moving into your 9th house, a huge spiritual awakened kind of epiphany moment, or some type of experience that is helping to propel your understanding, your wisdom, or perhaps even insight around what your true purpose or directive is. There's something really fascinating going on as a result of that cosmic conversation that's going to be playing out. And then, of course, Juno stations direct in your sign the following day. So, you know, the intensity that sort of arrives and the way that you're being shown things, the revelations that are happening, you know, coming thick and fast in the month of April, you know, are fundamentally changing how you see yourself, how you view your relationships and your life in a bigger way. Now, our Daughter of Coins coming through here, you know, there's a sense with both of these pages showing up in April that you need to be incredibly open-minded, okay? That's going to serve you incredibly well. And it's not that you're naive, but there's so many things that you don't know yet, or that have yet to be sort of revealed or shown. And so in that type of an energy, you're not going to feel so taken aback, if you like. You're just going to be like demonstrating a willingness to say, okay, well, how does this fit in? And how is this relevant? And what does this mean for me? And, you know, I think the curiosity is the thing that's going to be really helpful for you. Out of this situation, you will get really clear on what you want to invest, and something is going to continue to grow as you put more time, focus, energy and attention towards it. And I think you'll really understand what that is. And again, you know, with Juno going direct, I feel like the terms now are going to be much more agreeable to you in some fashion. Now we've got the full moon Scorpio arriving on the 23rd. Again, the intensity of that, the natural ruler of the 8th house, you know, but for you also hitting on your 3rd house, creates this very powerful sort of magnetic energy, if you like. And as a result of that, you know, you're feeling into what I'm going to say is like a kind of, I want to share, but I know as soon as I do share, there's going to be like a stirring up or a whipping up of energy. And it kind of feels like, not that you're backed into a corner, but there is a certain degree of pressure, I think, that's felt in and around that time. But if it's harnessed and well directed by you, it can actually bring about an incredibly positive and quite powerful illuminating position for you to be in, okay? We'll then, of course, have your ruler Mercury stationing direct on the 25th, right after that full moon, okay? The full moon Scorpio is also going to be a really advantageous time to have a conversation if you really want people to listen, because people are going to be absolutely tuned into you. Like your words will kind of have some sort of charged experience to them. And I think, you know, if you do have something really important to say, that's going to be about the round, you know, the round sort of the time that you're going to want to do it, okay? Toward the end of the month, we've got both Venus shifting into Taurus, Mars shifting into Aries on the 29th and 30th. They both like to be in these signs, the rulers of the signs, and so there's a sort of a comfort, you know, and a willingness to kind of work in a way that feels more favourable and more harmonious. I think that plays out well in terms of just being able to deal with how some of the electrical storms have whipped the energy up through April, and actually feel a bit more peace of mind as to the direction and how to start to implement this plan in a more significant way, okay? This month in my Sacred Soul Support, I've created a journey to elevate your prosperity consciousness, really powerful for you as you work with that 8th house, which of course rules other people's money, but also debt. And also a journey for Juno, the asteroid goddess, and working with her, which again will be very applicable to you as she's in your sign at this moment in time. So all my guided journeys, my sacred titles, ways to work with me, Virgo, you will find over on my website, romywiser.com. Now, if you're new to the channel, our last 3 cards we cover in the extended version of my reading. You can find the link for that in the comment and description box underneath. We'll talk for another 30 minutes or so. We'll also look at a personal card and a relationship card for you as well. So I hope you'll join me. I'm just going to go ahead and clarify these and see the direction that we're going to be taking this for you now. So looking at 5 of Coins, King of Coins, Pentacles, we've got the 9 of Swords coming through here, King of Cups, a lot of Kings showing up for you this month, interesting. The Knight, Six of Swords. A lot of travel coming through there with both the Knight of Wands and the Six of Swords. Seven of Wands. Judgment. Okay, this Seven of Cups. What have we got? The World. It's not a month to force things, you know, the energy is going to open up in all sorts of ways. So, you know, even if you find yourself incredibly frustrated by a specific experience, it's set to change very swiftly in the month of April. So don't be getting yourself like feeling hemmed in or like you've got no options or choices. Like you just need to literally wait, you know, allow for some of the clearance, and you'll start to see the new things that are going to be emerging very quickly. All the decks that I use are always listed below as well for your reference, Virgo. Right, let's have a look at Life Soul Vision Oracle, which is my own deck. We've got the Spirit Wolf, Crown Energy, Activations of Wisdom. We've got Waterfalls of White Light, Earth Medicine and Magic, Cast Their Spells. We've got Blossoming Soul Song and Karmic Cause and Effect. Okay. Right, let's have a look at a couple of oracle cards for Virgo for the month of April. We've got the energy of courage coming in, strength, fierceness, family. And finally, an astrological card for Virgo. We'll cover these messages in our extended reading. We've got opposition, confrontation. Okay, thank you so much for tuning in. I look forward to continuing this if you're joining me on the extended. If not, have a beautiful month of April. You take good care. I'll see you again next time.